Hi, so I wanted to give you a quick update on the Xian Tian College of Chinese Medicine and what it's doing. So the Xian Tian College is the College of Chinese Medicine, Acupuncture and Herbs and Tuina Massage that's attached to the Lotus Negong School. And it has been running diploma courses that were 2 or 3 years in length, depending on which ones people did, for the last five years now, I guess, or something like that. 6 years, 5 years, I don't know. But then, of course, COVID kind of changed everything because people couldn't travel. A lot of our students were international. We couldn't gather people together. So we had all sorts of problems there. So basically what we've been doing is the current cohort, the group that have been going through their diploma at the moment, they kind of had their training cut off in the middle, kind of stopped. So what they've been doing is they have been continuing the theory, and it's been me actually delivering the theory lectures once per month, one weekend per month to them. And I've agreed to keep that going for them until the COVID situation changes. That's ultimately what I'm going to do. So they've got a very, very big theoretical basis right now, which is a little bit theory heavy, but there's nothing we can do about that. That's okay, because it's during COVID. So we've covered a lot of theory already, and we've got a lot more to do. And what will happen is when things open up again, because eventually things will go back to normal, as weird as that might sound right now, because it might sound a long way off, but they will do. And at that stage, what will happen is I will gather that group together, along with a couple of other acupuncturists, and we'll hammer the practical work for them. Really, really hard to make sure they develop the skills they need to complete their diploma. You know, and they've had a bit of a disrupted diploma, but ultimately I think they'll be good practitioners in the end, because they've certainly had a lot of input with regards to the theory. So what we've learnt from this actually is this is quite a nice way of doing it. Not the disruption halfway through, but really we've discovered that actually it's quite nice to do the theory online with a group. We get lots of Q&As and back and forwards with people, and I get to cover the theory on like a weekend per module. It's great, it works really well. And what it actually means is we can dedicate more time to practical work when we meet up, because previously what we've been doing is you come on a weekend, half of it is theory, half of it's practical, and that almost doesn't feel like the most efficient use of time. So now what we've been doing is by doing the theory online, when people meet up, all they do is practical work. So that's what the future will hold for the college, and that's why it's been a bit of a jumble trying to figure out how to do that, because of course all the theory has to be put onto video. So what we're going to do for the future, because lots of people have been contacting asking what's going on, and I agree, Xian Tian has gone kind of quiet recently, no news, no nothing. Sorry about that. We've been kind of trying to figure out how to do this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a diploma in acupuncture and a diploma in Chinese herbs. Separate diplomas, not the same diploma, separate diplomas. And what will happen is on each of those diplomas, students will sign up to, first of all, the theoretical module. So on the acupuncture course, you will begin by studying the theory in great detail. So all that will be done online through videos that unlock for you weekly, and then you have interaction with a tutor that will help you sort of to move through that theory. So you learn all the foundations of Chinese medicine, everything like this. And then the idea is that then when you meet up for the practical lessons as a group, then all you have left is practical. So there'll be no theory on those classes, no sitting down in a classroom style setting, because you can do that at home. So you'll have to have some kind of interaction with sort of pop quizzes and tests and exams to check you've understood the theory. But then what you will do is you will study diagnostics, which includes pulse, tongue, observation, questioning, all those kind of things, in great detail, especially the pulse, because that's kind of a specialty of mine. That's what I like teaching the most, so we do lots of that. And then you'll study point location, needling, and sort of treatment and clinical setting kind of work on these courses that'll be purely practical. So I think it'll work really well. So students will begin the diploma by starting out with the theory and then move on to the practical once they've got their basis for it. And the idea is that we run those practical courses in kind of intense, what I'd like to do is retreats personally. I'd like to do it as intense retreats where people have like a fully working busy clinic that they're just kind of thrown into, and then we can kind of build on the skills. I think that would be amazing. So that's how the acupuncture is going to run, and that's going to be the same for the herbs as well. So we actually have a herbal diploma, Chinese herbal diploma, that's taught same theoretical initially. So you go through probably a year. I think it works out as a year. Is it 18 months or a year? I'm not sure. We're still kind of going through that. of theoretical lectures where every week you will study essentially some of the theory around herbs, the properties and interactions of the herbs, how to formulate formulas, diagnostics and individual herbs in great detail, which will be lectures delivered by myself. And then you will meet up for, once you've completed the theory and you've worked through it, you'll meet up for then practical classes where you learn to, you recover diagnosis, you do this in great detail, and then also work on mixing and preparing formulas, while a tutor works with you to supervise to make sure you've understood how to use the herbs properly and how to mix them up. So again, like the acupuncture diploma, it's kind of changing a bit, because instead of turning up and having 50 to 70% theory and then half or 30% practical, now what happens is you'll do all the theory online, then when you turn up for the practical courses, it'll be solid practical work. That's all you do. And so for the acupuncture, all you'll be doing is working in a clinic and diagnosing and looking at tongues and feeling pulses and getting around the table and putting needles in. With the herbs, all you'll be doing is diagnosing and mixing and preparing formulas, basically, and identification of herbs through touch and smell and things. So, you know, there's great strengths to this, you know, and this has been one of the good things of COVID. It's kind of woken me up to this, was I'd never want Chinese medicine to be an online subject. I don't think that's right. You can't learn it that way, especially not acupuncture or herbs. You need someone to check you're safe and need to know what you're doing. There's a lot of practical work involved, masses of practical work, but you can move the theory online. That works. So what we have is essentially a combined course with online theory and practical workshops. That's what we're looking at the moment. But it's taking a little bit of time because we want to get it right, and also because I don't think COVID's going anywhere just yet. I think all this optimistic talk people have of vaccines meaning we'll all be back to normal by June or May or whatever, I don't think that's going to happen. I have a feeling that most of 2021 is going to be written off with regards to groups coming together, because I think even when they allow courses to run, I think it's going to be so difficult with social distancing and masks and stuff like that. That'd be very impractical for learning something like acupuncture, for example, that's very hands-on, because you'll be getting very close to people. So my rough time scale for this is, I think, towards the third quarter of the year, autumn or fall if you're American, autumn, winter at the latest, but I think that's what will happen is the online modules for those diplomas will open up, so people can start working their way through that with an aim towards, because by the time you work through the theory, I think that's like midway through next year that really that you start needing to meet up for practical work. So before that, everything will be conversations on Zoom and interactions with your tutor and the online lessons. But I think by mid-2022, that is next year, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's when the practical workshops will begin, and that's what I want to do with Xian Tian College. That's kind of how I see it, getting out of this COVID era and getting over this kind of hurdle, and also how to reach more people with the training. And I think moving the theory online is great, because one of the things people have said is they love the theory in Xian Tian. People really enjoy the lectures when they come to the college, but they can't take all the notes they need, and they'd rather have the recording so they could slow it down and play it back. So I mean, that's what we're going to do. We're going to move it to that kind of formula, that kind of format, sorry, and kind of see where the college goes from there. The first two subjects we'll look at obviously will be acupuncture and herbs, and then the other things like qi emission and Tuina, I think that's going to be a little bit later. I think that really, because of the nature of those subjects, they're very practical. I think that needs to wait until after the COVID situation. Is that what we call it, the COVID situation? It sounds very serious, doesn't it? Till after the COVID situation has kind of disappeared or moved on, or the world has evolved in some way, and hopefully we can get back to some kind of normality. But the acupuncture and the herbal theory aspects of the training, I anticipate towards the third quarter of this year. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update, because everyone's asking. There's a lot of people very keen on joining, and there's a lot of people worried that the college is going away. It's not at all. Chinese medicine is very important to me, and I wish to keep the education going in it, because it is a part of these arts, not just martial arts, not just Negong. You know, the medicine is very, very important. But at the moment we are working on getting everything together so that it's watertight and super neat, and the videos are good, and the syllabus is very, very clean. So me and somebody else are working on it to try to get it nice and sharp and nice and polished. So hopefully that kind of, I know it's a bit vague, it doesn't have sort of full syllabuses or anything yet, but hopefully you should see where we're going with it. This is kind of the plan. And it's early days, so don't try and book onto a course like specifically say I definitely want to do this, because you don't know, you don't know all of the details of it yet. But at the same time, if you want to send an email through to Xian Tian and just register interest, what we can do is we can put you on a mailing list, and then closer to the time we can let you know what's going on. Or alternatively, you can just come back to this website regularly and check it out for yourself, because right now this website is a little bare bones, but we're going to be building it up with more information as time goes on, and maybe a bit closer to the time, maybe we'll share a couple of videos publicly so you can see roughly what format the lectures might take if you were a part of this course. But I think it'll work well, and I have high hopes for where Xian Tian College will go. That's phase one. Phase two is then, of course, to start putting in some of the more complex and intricate and rarer parts of Chinese medicine for qualified practitioners. But first of all, we want to get these diploma courses up and running. So hopefully that answers some of your questions about what's going on. The big one you're all asking is when. I think third quarter of this year, winter at the latest, but I think autumn, I think, is realistic. So, thanks very much.